The Art of Loving by Erich Fromm. Ever wonder why love, literally the one thing everyone on earth seems to crave, ends up being such a beautiful mess? We watch it unfold in movies, get lost in love songs, daydream about it constantly. That perfect, soul-shaking connection. Yet for so many of us, real-world love feels more like stumbling through a maze blindfolded. A relationship kicks off with fireworks, this incredible rush of excitement, and for a while, you're floating. But then, gradually, something shifts. The magic starts to dim. Misunderstandings pile up. That closeness you had, it slowly morphs into something more distant, more familiar in all the wrong ways. What once filled you with joy now leaves you anxious, or worse, trapped in a quiet, hollow routine. There's hardly anything we pursue with such soaring expectations that crashes and burns quite so reliably. If this kept happening with literally any other skill, like learning guitar, getting better at tennis, launching a startup, we'd take action. We'd dig into why we keep failing, hire a coach, devour books on the subject, practice until our fingers bled. But when it comes to love, we do something bizarre. We just try again, cross our fingers and hope that next time we'll get lucky. We treat love like some cosmic lottery, something you stumble into if the universe is feeling generous. But what if we've had it backwards this whole time? Back in 1956, a brilliant psychoanalyst named Erich Fromm published a slim book that quietly revolutionized how we think about connection. Fromm wasn't just some armchair philosopher. He was someone who'd witnessed humanity at its absolute worst. After escaping Nazi Germany, he spent his life trying to decode the psychological forces that drive us. Our deepest fears, our wildest hopes, our desperate hunger for connection. He looked around at the modern world with all its shiny progress and material abundance and saw something troubling. A spiritual sickness, a planet full of lonely souls, searching frantically for something they couldn't even name. And from that profound concern came The Art of Loving. This isn't your typical dating advice book filled with flirting techniques or relationship hacks. It's something far deeper, almost revolutionary. Fromm drops a simple but mind-bending idea right from the start. Love isn't primarily a feeling. It's an art. And like any art, whether painting, playing piano, or practicing medicine, it demands knowledge and dedicated effort. The secret isn't hunting down the perfect person. It's about transforming yourself into someone capable of genuine love. Today, we're diving deep into the powerful wisdom of this timeless masterpiece. And I promise you, by the time we're done, you'll see love through completely different eyes. You'll understand that love isn't some passive thing you wait around for. It's something you can actively build, practice, and actually master. You'll discover the crucial difference between falling in love and the far more profound experience of standing in love. This goes way beyond romantic relationships, by the way. This is about learning to connect authentically with the world around you, with other people, and most critically, with yourself. So let's start this journey together and explore the principles of what might just be the greatest art of all. To really grasp the art of loving, we first need to understand the artist. And the artist here? That's us, every single human being walking this planet. Erich Fromm invites us to consider a fundamental challenge that every person who's ever lived has faced, from our earliest cave-dwelling ancestors to us today, endlessly scrolling our phones. It's the basic problem of human existence itself. We're born into this world without being asked, and we exit against our will. We're aware of ourselves as separate individuals, painfully conscious of our limited time here, our fundamental aloneness, our helplessness against the massive forces of nature and society. This awareness of our separateness, Fromm argues, is the wellspring of all our anxiety. It's like being trapped in a prison of our own consciousness. If we couldn't somehow break out of this isolation and connect with others, with the world beyond ourselves, we'd literally lose our minds. So the deepest human need is this drive to overcome separateness, to escape the prison of our aloneness. Throughout history, we've cooked up countless ways to try solving this problem. Some are quick fixes. Think about what Fromm calls orgiastic states, losing yourself in wild dancing, raging parties, drugs and alcohol. For one fleeting glorious moment, that crushing feeling of separation vanishes, the anxiety melts away, and we feel merged with everything around us. But these experiences are always temporary. The anxiety always comes roaring back, sometimes even fiercer than before. A far more common solution today is what Fromm calls union by conformity. We try conquering our aloneness by fitting in perfectly, becoming carbon copies of everyone around us. If I dress exactly like everyone else, think the same thoughts, like the same music and movies, then I can feel like I belong to the tribe. I'm protected from the scary experience of being different, of standing alone. In our democratic societies, nobody forces this on us. Instead, it's encouraged through subtle suggestion and cultural messaging. We live under the comforting illusion that we're following our own unique tastes, when really we're just following the crowd. This creates what Fromm calls a pseudo-unity, a fake sense of connection, because our authentic, individual selves remain hidden beneath the surface. A third path to connection is creative work. When a painter creates on canvas, or a carpenter shapes wood into furniture, they unite themselves with their materials. They pour their energy into the world and become one with what they're creating. This is genuinely beautiful and fulfilling, but it's not interpersonal. It doesn't solve the puzzle of our separateness from other people. Orgiastic fusion is fleeting. Conformity creates only fake unity. Creative work doesn't bridge the gap between people. Fromm tells us these are all just partial solutions. The complete answer to the problem of human existence lies in achieving genuine interpersonal union, true fusion with another person in love. This desire for fusion with another human being is the most powerful force within us. It's the passion that keeps our entire species alive. Without it, humanity wouldn't survive a single day. But here, Fromm makes a crucial distinction. Not all forms of interpersonal union are created equal. There are immature versions of love, which he calls symbiotic union, and then there's mature love. Symbiotic union is like the relationship between a pregnant mother and her unborn child. They're two beings, yet somehow one. They need each other to survive. In the psychological version of this, two people become dependent on each other to feel whole, but they lose themselves in the process. The passive form is submission, or what psychologists call masochism. The person escapes their crushing loneliness by dissolving into someone else. They let another person direct their entire life, guide every decision, become their whole universe. They're never alone, sure, but they've sacrificed all independence, all freedom. The active form is domination, or sadism. This person tries escaping loneliness by absorbing another person into themselves. They inflate their own ego by incorporating someone who worships them. Here's the kicker. The dominating person is just as dependent on the submissive person as the submissive person is on them. Neither can survive without the other. This is fusion without personal integrity. It's not genuine love. So what does mature love actually look like? Fromm defines it beautifully. Mature love is union under the condition of preserving one's integrity, one's individuality. Let that sink in for a moment. Love isn't about losing yourself in another person. It's not about melting into a single merged entity. In real love, something paradoxical happens. Two people become one, yet they remain two distinct individuals. Love is a force that breaks down the walls, separating us from others, while still allowing us to be ourselves, to maintain our personal integrity. This brings us to one of the most powerful ideas in the entire book. If love is an art, what's the actual practice? What do we do? Fromm says love is an activity, but not in the usual sense of that word. We typically think of activity as doing something to achieve an external goal, running a business, building a house, training for a race. But Fromm uses the word differently. An activity is the expression of your inherent powers. A person sitting quietly in meditation, experiencing their deep connection to existence, is engaged in the highest form of activity, an activity of the soul. Love, in this sense, is active. It's a standing in, not a falling for. It's a conscious, deliberate practice. And what's the main characteristic of this practice? Fromm states it simply but powerfully. Love is primarily giving, not receiving. Now, this is where many of us get confused. We misunderstand what giving really means. We think of it as giving up something, as sacrifice, as loss. For someone who hasn't emotionally matured, giving does feel like becoming poorer. But for the mature, productive person, giving is the highest expression of personal power. In the very act of giving, you experience your own strength, your abundance, your vitality. It doesn't drain you, it actually fills you with joy. Giving becomes more joyful than receiving, not because it's a deprivation, but because in the act of giving, you express your own aliveness. And what exactly do we give? It's not primarily our material possessions. The most important sphere of giving happens in the human realm. You give of yourself, of what's most precious within you. You give of your very life. This doesn't mean literally sacrificing your life, but sharing what's alive inside you, your joy, your genuine interest, your understanding, your knowledge, your humor, even your sadness. In giving of your life, you enrich the other person. You don't give in order to receive something back. Giving is inherently joyful. But when you truly give, you can't help but awaken something in the other person, and what you awaken reflects back to you. Love is a power that generates more love. If love is an active practice of giving, what are the fundamental elements that all forms of genuine love must contain? Fromm identifies 4 essential components: care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. Let's explore each one. First up is care. This is the most obvious element. If a mother told you she loved her baby, but you watched her consistently neglect feeding it or keeping it warm, you simply wouldn't believe her words. Love is active concern for the life and growth of what we love. Where this active concern is missing, there's no genuine love. Fromm uses the biblical story of Jonah to illustrate this beautifully. God teaches Jonah that the essence of love is to labor for something and to make something grow. You love what you labor for, and you labor for what you love. Second is responsibility. Today we often think of this as duty, something imposed from outside. But in its truest sense, responsibility is completely voluntary. It means being able and ready to respond to the needs, expressed or unexpressed, of another human being. The loving person responds. The life of another person isn't just their business alone. It becomes your concern too. Third comes respect. This isn't about fear or awe. The word comes from the Latin respicere, meaning to look at. It means the ability to see a person as they truly are, to recognize their unique individuality. Respect means wanting the other person to grow and unfold for their own sake, in their own way, not to serve your purposes. You can only genuinely respect someone if you've achieved independence yourself. As an old French song wisely notes, love is the child of freedom, never of domination. Finally, the fourth element is knowledge. You can't respect someone without knowing them. Care and responsibility would be blind without knowledge guiding them. This isn't superficial knowledge about someone's favorite color or food. It's the kind of understanding that penetrates to the core of who they are. This is only possible when you get past your own concerns and see the other person on their own terms. For example, you might notice someone is angry, but deeper knowledge might reveal that their anger is just the surface. Underneath, they're anxious, lonely, or drowning in guilt. You see the suffering person beneath the angry one. This drive to truly know another person is fundamental to being human. But Fromm warns there are 2 paths to knowing another's deepest secrets. One is the path of power and cruelty, complete domination over another person, making them suffer until they're forced to reveal themselves. But this destructive path only destroys. It never truly reveals anything meaningful. The other path to knowing is love. Love is active penetration of the other person, where your desire to know them is satisfied through union. In the act of loving, of giving yourself, of truly connecting with another person, you simultaneously find yourself, discover them, and discover something about all of humanity. It's the only path to complete knowledge. Care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. These four aren't separate ingredients you can have independently. They're a syndrome of attitudes found in mature, productive people. You genuinely can't have one without developing the others. Now that we have this framework, Fromm shows us how this single loving orientation can be directed toward different objects. It's not that there are fundamentally different kinds of love, but rather that the one faculty of love expresses itself in different ways. The foundation for all of them is brotherly love. This is love for all human beings. It's characterized by its very lack of exclusiveness. It's the love the Bible speaks of when it says, "Love thy neighbor as thyself." Brotherly love is rooted in the profound experience that beneath all our surface differences in talent, intelligence, or background, we're fundamentally one. At the human core, we're identical. When we perceive another person from this center, we see our brother, our sister. This is love between equals. Then there's motherly love. By its nature, this is love for the helpless. It's an unconditional affirmation of a child's life and needs. Fromm describes motherly love through a beautiful metaphor with two aspects. Giving, milk, is the first aspect, the essential care and responsibility to preserve a child's life and help them grow. But only some mothers can also give honey. Honey symbolizes the sweetness of life itself, the feeling that it's genuinely good to be alive. A mother can only give honey if she's not merely a good mother, but genuinely a happy person herself. But the real achievement of motherly love isn't in loving the helpless infant. The true test comes later. The very essence of motherly love is caring for the child's growth, which ultimately means wanting the child's separation from her. In romantic love, two people become one. In motherly love, two people who were one must become separate. The mother must not just tolerate this separation. She must wish for it and actively support it. This requires true selflessness, the ability to give everything and want nothing back except the happiness of the loved one. In sharp contrast is erotic love. This is the craving for complete fusion with one specific person. By its very nature, it's exclusive, not universal like brotherly love. But Fromm warns this is perhaps the most deceptive form of love. It's so easily confused with the explosive experience of falling in love. That initial feeling of sudden intimacy when the walls between two strangers collapse is absolutely exhilarating. But that experience is, by its nature, short-lived. As two people genuinely get to know each other, the intimacy inevitably loses its miraculous, magical character. The initial fireworks fade. Many people mistake this intensity of infatuation for proof of deep love, when it might only prove the degree of their prior loneliness. Real erotic love isn't just an intense feeling. It has one critical requirement: that you love from the very essence of your being, and experience the other person in the essence of theirs. Erotic love is exclusive only in the sense that you can fuse fully and intensely with one person. But if it's genuine love, you don't just love that one person. In truly loving them, you love all of humanity, you love the world, you love everything that's alive. Crucially, Fromm argues that erotic love isn't merely a powerful feeling. It's a decision, a judgment, a promise. A feeling comes and it might go. How can you possibly promise to love someone forever if love is only a fleeting feeling? You can't. The promise of love is rooted in an act of will, a commitment of your entire life to another's. This leads to a fourth object of love that's caused endless confusion: self-love. For centuries we've been taught that loving others is virtuous, but loving yourself is sinful. We equate self-love with selfishness. Fromm says this is a serious mistake. First, there's a basic logical problem. The biblical idea, love thy neighbor as thyself, implies that respect for your own integrity and uniqueness isn't separate from respecting others. Love for your own self is inseparably connected with love for any other being. Psychologically, Fromm argues that love is an attitude, a character orientation that shapes your whole being. If you're genuinely a loving person, you love everyone, and that includes yourself. Love, in principle, is indivisible. If you can love others authentically, you can love yourself. If you can only love others but not yourself, you can't truly love at all. So what about selfishness then? The selfish person isn't someone who loves themselves too much. They love themselves too little. In fact, Fromm argues, the selfish person actually hates themselves. They lack genuine fondness and care for their real self. This leaves them feeling perpetually empty and frustrated, anxiously trying to grab satisfaction from life while blocking themselves from actually attaining it. Selfishness and self-love aren't just different, they're complete opposites. A mother with genuine self-love gives her child the greatest possible gift, the living experience of what love, joy, and happiness actually feel like. Finally, Fromm explores the love of God. Psychologically, he says loving God isn't fundamentally different from loving people. It springs from the same need to overcome separateness and achieve union. The character of your love for God depends on your own character. He traces how religion has evolved historically, from early matriarchal religions where the highest being was an all-embracing, unconditionally loving mother goddess, to patriarchal religions where God became a father figure, demanding, setting strict laws, giving love based on obedience. But just as individuals mature, our concept of God can mature too. We can evolve from an infantile idea of God as a magical helping parent to something more mature. In a truly mature spirituality, God stops being an external power, a person outside of us. God becomes a symbol of the principles of love, truth, and justice that we've incorporated within ourselves. To love God, then, means longing for the full capacity to love, to realize within yourself what God actually represents. This brings us to the challenging question. If love is a capacity of a mature, productive character, then our ability to love depends heavily on the culture we live in. So Fromm asks the hard question, is modern Western society's social structure actually conducive to developing love? His answer is a blunt no. He argues that modern capitalist society is fundamentally based on markets. We have commodity markets, and we have labor markets. Human energy and skill have become commodities to be bought and sold, just like toasters or stocks. In this system, accumulated things, that which is dead, are valued more highly than human powers, that which is alive. This has created what Fromm calls the marketing orientation in our character structure. We experience ourselves as a commodity. Our value isn't based on our intrinsic human qualities, but on our success in a competitive marketplace. We create a carefully curated personality package that we hope will be attractive, that someone will want to buy into. The outcome is that modern people are alienated from themselves, from their fellow humans, and from nature. We've been transformed into commodities. Human relationships become transactions between alienated automatons. Everyone tries desperately to stay close to the herd, yet everyone remains utterly alone inside, filled with a gnawing sense of insecurity and anxiety. And here's the thing. Automatons simply cannot love. They can only exchange their personality packages and hope for a fair deal. In this world, love disintegrates into various forms of pseudo-love. One is the ideal of the team marriage. Two people who remain essentially strangers their whole lives together form a well-oiled partnership, a refuge from an unbearable sense of aloneness. This, egoism à deux, two egos operating as one unit, gets mistaken for genuine love and intimacy. Another form of disintegration is the widespread belief that love naturally results from sexual satisfaction. This is the idea that if two people just learn the right sexual techniques, they'll automatically love each other. Fromm says the exact opposite is actually true. Sexual happiness is the result of love, not the cause of it. The real cause of most sexual problems isn't lack of technique. It's the deep inhibitions, fears, and hidden resentments that make it impossible for a person to truly love. So, if our society actively works against the development of love, what can we actually do? How do we practice this art in a world that seems to discourage it at every turn? This is where Fromm shifts from theory to practice. He offers no simple prescriptions or step-by-step formulas. The practice of any art can only be learned through actual practicing. But he does outline the general requirements, the fundamental approaches to mastering this art. First, practicing any art requires discipline. Not the rigid, authoritarian discipline of previous generations, but a discipline that becomes an expression of your own will and desires. Getting up at a regular hour, devoting time to meditation or reading, not constantly overindulging in escapist activities. This discipline should eventually feel pleasant, something you'd genuinely miss if you stopped doing it. Second is concentration. Our culture pushes us toward a diffused, scattered way of living. We do many things simultaneously. Scroll social media while watching TV, while having a conversation while eating. To learn real concentration, we must first learn to be comfortably alone with ourselves. This is actually a prerequisite for the ability to love. If you're clinging to someone because you can't stand on your own feet, that's not a loving relationship. Paradoxically, the ability to be alone is the foundation for the ability to genuinely love. Third is patience. In our industrial system, everything is about speed and efficiency. We're convinced we're losing time if we don't do things quickly, yet we don't know what to do with the time we save except find ways to kill it. If you're chasing quick results, you'll never master any art, especially love. Finally, and most critically, practicing love requires one supreme condition: overcoming your own narcissism. Narcissism is the orientation where you experience as genuinely real only what exists within yourself. The outside world is only seen through the lens of how it's useful or dangerous to you personally. The opposite of narcissism is objectivity. It's the capacity to see people and things as they actually are, separate from your own desires, fears, and projections. The faculty to think objectively is reason. The emotional attitude behind reason is humility. To be objective, you must emerge from childish fantasies of knowing everything and being all-powerful. Love, therefore, absolutely requires developing humility, objectivity, and reason. This process of emergence, of waking up from narcissism, requires one more essential quality: faith. Fromm isn't talking about irrational faith, which is blind belief based on submission to authority. He means rational faith, a deep conviction rooted in your own experience of thought or feeling. It's the faith a scientist has in a hypothesis before it can be proven. It's the faith you have in the core of another person's true nature, beneath their surface behaviors. Most importantly, in relation to love, what matters is faith in your own love, faith in its ability to produce love in others, and faith in its reliability and strength. To love means committing yourself without guarantee, giving yourself completely in the hope that your love will awaken love in the other person. Love is fundamentally an act of faith, and whoever has little faith also has little love. Discipline, concentration, patience, humility, objectivity, reason, faith, and courage. These aren't just qualities for loving one person romantically. They're qualities for living a full life. Fromm's final point is that you can't compartmentalize your life so that you're productive and loving in relationships, but unproductive everywhere else. The capacity to love demands a state of intensity, of being awake, of enhanced vitality, which can only emerge from a productive orientation in every sphere of life. To become a loving person means becoming a disciplined, concentrated, patient, humble, and courageous person. It's a practice that encompasses every single moment of your life. It's the ultimate challenge and the most rewarding journey any human being can possibly undertake. As we reach the end of our exploration of the art of loving, it's striking how a book written over half a century ago feels so incredibly, almost uncomfortably relevant to our lives right now. Erich Fromm was writing back in 1956, but he might as well have been describing our current moment. His diagnosis of the marketing orientation, where we treat ourselves and others like products to be sold, sounds like the perfect description of the social media age, where we carefully curate our personal brand and swipe through dating profiles like we're shopping online. His description of our profound alienation and bone-deep loneliness, masked by constant consumption of entertainment and new purchases, feels more accurate than ever in a world where we're more digitally connected yet often more personally isolated than at any point in human history. The most powerful, and I think the most hopeful, lesson from this book is its revolutionary central idea that love is a skill to be learned, not a mystery to be solved or a lottery to win. This concept is genuinely revolutionary. It takes love out of the realm of luck and magic and places it firmly in our own capable hands. It tells us we don't have to be passive victims of our feelings, sitting around waiting for lightning to strike. We can be active creators of love in our own lives. This is incredibly empowering, especially when you're young and just beginning to navigate the messy complexities of relationships. It means every interaction, every single day, is an opportunity to practice. When you choose to listen with your full concentration instead of mentally planning your next response, you're practicing the art of loving. When you choose to respond to someone's need, not out of obligation but from a genuine sense of connection, you're practicing. When you challenge your own biased perception of someone and genuinely try to see them objectively, with humility, you're practicing. This book isn't just an analysis of love, it's a call to action. A call to live more deeply, more consciously, and more courageously. So how can we start right now applying these profound ideas in our own lives? Here are a few simple, practical steps you can take today. First, practice concentration by learning to be comfortable alone with yourself. Try this. For just 10 minutes a day, sit quietly in a room by yourself. No phone, no music, no books, nothing. Just sit, notice your breathing. At first, you'll probably feel restless, maybe even anxious. You'll find your mind racing with a million distractions, things you should be doing, problems you need to solve. That's completely normal. The goal isn't achieving an empty mind, but simply staying with yourself, being fully present with your own existence. This simple act builds the foundation for being truly present with another person, which is the beating heart of love. Second, practice the art of giving. This doesn't require grand gestures or expensive gifts. Start small and simple. The next time you're in a conversation with a friend or family member, make the conscious choice to give them your complete attention. Listen not just to their words, but to the emotions and meanings behind them. Don't plan your clever response while they're still talking. Just genuinely listen. Another approach is to give your help or time without expecting anything in return. This small shift from a mindset of receiving to one of giving is a powerful step in developing a loving character. Third, practice objectivity by developing genuine humility. The next time you're in a disagreement or feeling hurt by someone's actions, take a moment to pause and breathe. Ask yourself honestly, what is my narcissistically distorted picture of this situation? Am I seeing this person as they truly are? Or am I seeing them through the warped filter of my own needs, fears, and expectations? Trying to separate your projection of a person from their actual reality is difficult but absolutely crucial work in overcoming the self-centeredness that blocks love. Learning the art of loving isn't a short-term project or a weekend workshop. It's the work of a lifetime. It's about a fundamental shift in how you orient yourself to the world, from wanting to get to wanting to give, from being a passive spectator of life to being an active participant and creator. It teaches us that the greatest fulfillment doesn't come from finding the perfect person who completes you, but from becoming a person who's genuinely capable of love. It's a journey that promises not ease or comfort, but true aliveness. Not a life without conflict, but one filled with deep, meaningful connection. And that, I genuinely believe, is the greatest adventure we can ever embark upon. That was our journey through The Art of Loving by Erich Fromm. We've touched on the core ideas today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary can only ever be a map pointing toward something. The real treasure is found when you actually travel the territory yourself. The real magic happens in those quiet moments of reading. When a particular story or a simple phrase connects with something deep inside you in a way you didn't expect. This podcast is designed to help you decide if this book deserves a place in your life. If anything we've talked about today has struck a chord with you, resonated in any way, I genuinely encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning facts. It's an experience that can genuinely transform how you see yourself, others, and the beautiful, complex art of your own life. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It lets me know these explorations actually matter to people, and it ensures you won't miss our next journey into another potentially life-changing book. Let's keep growing together.